welcome to the Elevated Limits podcast show. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. Today we have a special guest in the building. She was awarded the 2018 Enlightened Leadership Scholarship to attend Kutztown University, a double major in finance and personal financial planning. She was selected the #1 female intern in the country. I gotta give it a little pause, make it more dramatic. At Northwestern Mutual and third overall. She is currently a financial advisor, and I'm really excited about this conversation because we get to talk about money. And I feel like this is a conversation the community really needs to hear. So please welcome Nessa Cartagena. Did I say it right? Cartagena. No, bro. Cartagena. Bro, I just practiced this like 10 times before we even started the episode. Cartagena.
Yeah.
You see, I'm really bad at pronouncing names, so
it's okay.
You guys got to give me patience. So like I said, I'm really excited to talk about this conversation, Nessa, because I feel like there is a big gap between the community I come from and maybe where you grew up on just knowledge of what it is that you do, right? Because a lot of the times we grow up and we're not taught what to do with our money. We're just kind of winging it, right?
Yeah.
And we just say, just save your money, or you know what I mean? There's just no guidance out there. So again, I'm really excited about this conversation. But before we go more in depth, can you just explain what a financial advisor is?
All right. So what a financial advisor
Speak to
is.
the mic.
So pretty much, financial planning is not a one size fits all shoe. And I think that's where a lot of people, kind of go wrong with their perception of what an advisor is, because what an advisor might talk about with one person, they might have a completely different conversation with another person. It all depends on, obviously, how much you make, how much you can save, what your goals are, risk tolerance. A lot of things go into it. But I think a lot of people sometimes too think, oh, I don't need a financial advisor, or I can't have a financial advisor because I don't make enough money. That's completely not true. It's false. I think everybody should be working with an advisor, no matter your income. But pretty much a financial advisor is going to help you make rational decisions when it comes to your money, right? I meet with a lot of smart people every day, right? But the reality is, as humans, we are emotionally attached to our money, right?
They say where the money is, where your heart lies. That's what they say. You know what I mean?
So as humans, we are emotionally attached to our money. And what an advisor is going to do is going to help you, be rational with the decisions that you're making with your money and making sure that you're putting it in the right places. Because saving is great, right? But saving isn't going to build wealth. That's just the reality.
Right. That's you dropped a lot in there, which is good. You mentioned like you don't have to have a lot of money to start saving or to start working with a financial advisor, because you said, so is it a big misconception for people to be like, listen, I'm broke, how do I, you know what I mean? Actually, let me ask you this. What do you recommend for someone who comes from a low income situation? Like, is there like any tips or advice you give on how to split up their check and how they should go about working with a financial advisor?
Yeah. So I would say, like, first things first, when I'm meeting with people, I believe that everybody should be saving 20% of what they're making.
Per paycheck?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Per paycheck. So that 20% though that we're saving should be, monthly, sorry.
Monthly, okay.
Good thing you corrected me on that. 20% of what you make every month. Now, the thing is though, that 20% should not all just be going to a savings account. It should be diversified over, I like to say 4 different buckets, right? So we should be saving for retirement. We should be saving in our savings account, right? We should be saving into an investment account, and we should be implementing some cash value life insurance. So that 20% is going to kind of be scattered across those different buckets, right? And basically the main idea is that you have, obviously, the money in those different buckets is going to be liquid in different ways, meaning some of those buckets you can touch after 59 and a half, after you retire. Some of them you can touch before retirement, right? So most times what I'm helping people do is not only helping them focus on saving that 20% amongst those 4 different places, because most times people are only saving in their savings and for retirement.
Yeah.
Usually they're neglecting all the years before retirement, right? Most times we have a lot of life to live before then. And so it's important that we're saving for all that in between. But essentially, people want to diversify their money in 3 different ways, right? They want to diversify in the form of how is the money being taxed in the places that it's in, right? How is it going to grow, right? and also how liquid is it? So when can they touch it? How soon can they access the money? So that's why I am teaching and educating people about those 4 different places, because they're all taxed differently, they're all going to grow differently, and you're going to be able to touch them at different times in your life.
Dope. And based on the person you're talking to, basically everyone's plan is personalized based on how much income they have and what their goals are, right? If I'm not mistaken, which
That's
is really
correct.
dope. Throughout our process of you getting me on board, I thought it was really interesting kind of getting to know your story a little bit and like kind of what led you to becoming a financial advisor. So could you just explain to the viewers like kind of what your upbringing was like and kind of what led you to making the decision of being a financial planner?
Yes. So pretty much a little background about me. I grew up with a single mom, and pretty much we were broke all the time. That was literally like my life. Like I just remember like wanting to get a job as soon as possible, wanting to open a bank account as soon as possible, because I couldn't wait to start working so that I could start saving my money. Because I just knew, like, 1, I wanted to be able to help my mom, but 2, my biggest fear as an adult, as I grew up, was going broke. Like that was literally what I feared so much. So I started working when I was 14. My first job was at Dunkin' Donuts, humble beginnings, So, I was making people's iced coffee and all that stuff. So I know how they make all their iced coffees. So, anyway, so my first job was at Dunkin' Donuts when I was 14, and then I actually picked up a second job when I was in high school. I started serving at Westgate Pizza, actually. So I was working at Westgate Pizza. I was working at Dunkin' Donuts. That's how I actually saved up for my first car.
Oh wow.
So that was pretty much like in high school, I was just like a hustler. Like I literally, and I would get paid, I don't even remember, let's just say $200 like every other week. It was, now looking back at it, I thought I was rich back then. Now I'm like, that is chump change. But like whatever, let's say I got a $200 paycheck. I was probably saving $125 of it and giving myself $75 to spend. I always prioritized savings far more than I prioritized spending. And so even before I had a bank account, like I literally would just like save my cash, like I don't know, maybe in a shoebox. I don't even know where I was putting it, but I was just saving my money any way I could. So kind of fast forward when I was in high school, at that time my mom was in a lot of debt. And I remember sitting down with her at the dinner table and literally like organizing all of her credit cards and, what the minimum payment was, what the interest rates were, when they were due. And we literally wrote down on the calendar, like I helped her create a plan to strategically pay off her credit card debt.
Wow.
When I was in high school.
Prior to you even learning about all
yes.
this. Wow. That's
yeah.
dope.
So I remember I was like literally like putting on the calendar, like, okay, on this date, you're going to pay this card. This is how much you're going to pay. And then you're going to pay this date you're going to pay this card. This is how much you're going to pay on this. That way we can get it paid off as soon as possible, right? So I didn't even know when I was in high school that like the little way that I was helping my mom, because I loved her and I cared about her, that little way that I was helping her, I could help people and impact people on so much larger levels when it comes to their money. And I didn't even know that was a possibility at that time. I was just doing it because I genuinely wanted to help my mom and I love her, right? So I was in high school. And pretty much to my senior year of high school, I didn't know if I was going to go to college, not because I wasn't smart enough, but pretty much because I knew my mom couldn't afford it. So I was like, and like, I wasn't really educated either on financial aid and stuff like that. So I just like, I was scared of debt. You know what I mean? Like, So I was like, well, like, I guess I'm going to just have to like look for a job. Like I truly didn't know. Right. And then I was touring colleges and stuff, but like when I would hear the sticker price of tuition and stuff like that, I was like, yeah, no, like that's just not possible. I can't do it. And it was crazy because when I was in high school and I was saving up my money, I was like, I'm saving up for college. And then you go to all these college visits, they're like, all right, $80,000 a year. I'm like, okay, I didn't save up that much. So my mom, like, she didn't save up anything for me for college. Like, she had me when she was 20 years old. She didn't know what she was doing. You know what I mean? And she had no guidance herself. And so I got really lucky. My guidance counselor in high school, her name was Miss Vasquez. She was so amazing at Liberty. And she was helping me, like, apply for colleges. She was like, no. Like, what do you mean you're not going to college? You're going to college, She didn't really let me take no for an answer. So she was helping me do applications and stuff like that. I was going to college fairs and getting, like, all those at the admissions tables, they give you like these codes to apply, for
Right.
free to waive the
lit.
fee.
Yeah.
So I was getting all those free waivers. I was like, I don't have the money to pay for these
Right.
applications. So I was getting all those little codes at all the tables to apply. And I started applying. I applied to, I don't know, let's just say maybe 5 or 6 schools. I think I applied to Temple, Drexel, University of Miami. I wanted to go to Florida so bad. And then I applied to East Stroudsburg,
Okay.
Kutztown, and I think that was it. It might have been those 5. And I was like, Kutztown was like the last school that I applied to. I was like, there's no way I'm going to Kutztown. Like, that school's in the middle of nowhere. I was like, that school's in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't know anyone else going to Kutztown. And it was also like super close to home. I mean, it's like 35 minutes maybe from Bethlehem/Allentown. So I was like, no, like whatever. My guidance counselor was like, just apply. Like, what could happen, right?
Right.
Like, best thing, if anything, that's your safety school, right? You know that if you don't get accepted to your top schools, that's going to be where you go. So I was like, all right. So I ended up getting accepted to all the schools that I applied to. But a huge factor for me, which actually I was talking to Miss Roz. So,
Oh, yeah.
so she was talking to me about scholarships and stuff like that in high school. And she basically said, like, love who loves you. So when she said that to me, she was like, go where the money is, pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah.
So she's like, listen, I know Temple and Drexel are your top schools, but at the end of the day, you're getting a bachelor's degree. And pretty much a bachelor's degree across the board is, equivalent wherever you go for it.
Right.
It matters more when you start going for a master's and more, higher education. And so even though, Temple and Drexel were my number 1 schools, I didn't get a lot of money from them. Like, I was still going to be paying like over $50,000 a year for Drexel, Temple, $30,000 a year. And I was just like, there's just no way. So Kutztown actually gave me a lot of scholarship money. And they didn't give me so at this time when I applied and they like gave me my original, scholarship package or financial aid package, I was still going to be having to come out of pocket. I don't know, let's say like maybe $15,000 to $20,000 per year. And I got an email from someone at Kutztown in the admissions office, and she was like, hey, we have an opportunity for a full ride scholarship. We'd love to invite you onto campus to interview for the scholarship. And I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. But apparently to qualify for the scholarship, you had to be applying as a business major. So that was one of the requirements. Like, it was only open to people in the business school. You also had to have like a certain GPA, maybe like over a 3.5 or something in high school, or 4.0 something. I don't know how the scales go. I don't remember. But you also had to have community service on your transcript. So that was another thing that the scholarship required. I had all of those 3 things, thankfully. And so I qualified to go in for the interview. So I set up the interview. I literally remember like the day of the interview, my mom drove me. She was able to leave work early. And I was panicking because I didn't have business casual clothes. So I was like, Mom, can you please take me to Marshall's? Like, I need to go to Marshall's. Like, I needed to get like a, cute shirt or something like that for the interview. And so we went to Marshall's. This is literally right before the interview. I got like a cute little blouse or whatever shirt and drove to Kutztown, had the interview. And I remember my public speaking teacher in high school. Her name was Mrs. Erdman. She was also amazing at Liberty. I told her I was super nervous for this interview. I was like, I just don't know what to expect. I don't know what they're going to ask me. And she was like, Nessa, she was like, just be yourself. She was like, just be yourself. She's like, don't worry about anything else. It's going to be fine. So like, that's all I kept thinking about. Like, just be myself, right? I ended up going in for the interview. Apparently being yourself does really get you places.
It
because
definitely does.
A few weeks later, I was interviewing against, I think, 7 or 8 other candidates, right, for this scholarship. And I got a call like 3 weeks later, and it was from Laura in the admissions office at Kutztown. And she was like, I'm just giving you a call because I wanted to let you know that you were our top candidate for the Enlightened Leader Scholarship. Are you willing to accept this offer? And I was just like,
yeah.
What? I was like, yeah. I was like, I can't believe this. Like, I was just in so much shock because I was just like, I was interviewing against other candidates. I went into this not even knowing what to expect. And Kutztown was originally a safety school for me. Like,
Wow.
I did not want to even go there.
Right.
So I was like, but then when Miss Roz was like, love who loves you. Whoever gives you the most
Shout
money.
out to Ms. Roz.
That sticks with me. Like when she said that to me, like that really stuck with me. Like I was like, she's so right, right? So I called my mom at work and she was at work and I called her and I was like, Mom, like guess what? Like I was like, I was awarded the full ride scholarship at Kutztown. And she was like, she just started crying at her desk. And she was like, don't feel like you have to say yes to that because you think that we can't afford where you actually want to go. She was like, if you want to call them back and say no and you want to go somewhere else, I'm going to find a way and I'm going to figure it out. She was like, I don't care if I have to get a second job. Like, go. I want you to be happy. And I was like, Mom, are you crazy? I was like, Mom, come on. Like, seriously?
Yeah, right.
But, like, that just goes to show, like, my mom's character. Like, you know, she never wanted money to be a burden for me, even though I knew it was. She never wanted me to feel like that.
Right.
And, but ultimately, I mean, I was like, Mom, you're crazy. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go to where they love me. Right. So what Miss Ross said. And I ended up, you know, committing to Kutztown University. I had a great college experience. I mean, aside from COVID, I met lifelong friends. I built amazing relationships with the professors there and everything like that. I really do love Kutztown. I loved the experience that I was able to get, and I'm happy that everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Truly.
Amen.
And so my junior year of college, we're gonna fast forward a little bit. Junior year of college, or no, just kidding. Sophomore year of college, I was shadowing a wealth management advisor out in Center Valley, PA, who I knew actually from like a family friend, right? Didn't know him too well, but I was shadowing him. He was doing a lot of speaking engagements in the area in Allentown and Bethlehem with like people who are close to retirement and stuff like that, you know, telling them they should be focused on thinking about their retirement and stuff like that, right? When it came to wealth management and stuff. He didn't really do financial planning. It was just wealth management, the investment side. And I went to one of his speaking engagements the one day that I was shadowing, and this was right after COVID. So when people were starting to like kind of go back out again, and he started holding these. And I remember him telling me like, it's going to be really hard for you in this industry because you're a girl. And he was like, guys are only going to want to work with you because they want one thing from you.
Wow.
That's literally what he told me. He was like, yeah, I know a lot of girls that try this, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work for them because you're only looked at for one thing. Like, that's literally what he told me.
Wow.
And I wouldn't even consider him a family friend. He was like very distant family friend, like not very close at all to me. But like that was super discouraging because I was majoring in personal financial planning at Kutztown, and when I knew I wanted to help people with their money. So when he told me that, like, this is gonna be really hard for you, like you could try it, but it's probably not gonna work, pretty much. And I was like, damn, like that's super discouraging. And so I was like, okay, well maybe I should just go into investment banking because I don't know, like maybe I should just stick to an office job or something like that, you know? Like I was trying to think of the easy way out, I guess. Aside from the original plan that I always had was I wanted to help people with their money. So then fast forward a year later, it's coming up on the end of my junior year of college, and I didn't have an internship lined up. And I was like, all right, I basically have 1 year, like my senior year left to figure out what I'm going to do when I graduate. I cannot graduate without a job. Like that's, again, going back to my fear of being broke. I cannot do that. I didn't put in all this work to have no job, right? And so I called my uncle, who in my life is someone I really look up to. He's an entrepreneur. Oh, you know
I think
who he is?
What's his name?
Joe Barrios.
He's a preacher, right? He be preaching. Yeah, I've been seeing him.
He does the praise pop-up events.
Yep, I be going.
Yes. So that's my uncle. And in my life, my uncle has always been somebody that I always valued his opinion. Like literally, it could be something so dumb. I don't know. I just always valued his opinion because I'm like, he's just so smart. He's so knowledgeable, like, you know, and all these things, right? And I really admire him. And so I called him and I was like, Uncle Joey, I really need your help. I was like, you know so many people. You're so connected in the community. I was like, I need a job after I graduate, and I need an internship. I just I want you to connect me to someone that you know, right? And he was like, well, first of all, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do when you graduate? And I was like, I just want to help people with their money. Like, that's literally all I want to do. I just want to help people with their money. I'm really passionate about that. And he was like, his exact words, Ness, you need to meet my financial advisor. She's dope. Those are his exact words to me. And I was like, okay. He didn't really tell me anything else about her. I didn't even know he had an advisor. And like in my life too, right? Like my uncle is someone in my life. I would have thought, oh, he has all his T's crossed, his I's dotted. He has it all together, you know. He has a financial advisor? Like, wait, what? Like, you know, because back to the fact that I thought, I was so naive back then that I thought only people who didn't have money really needed an advisor, not people who already had it all together, right? So I'm like, oh, if he has an advisor, wow, she must be doing great work for him. He really trusts her. He values whatever she's telling him to do. He really values her opinion.
Right.
And he's connecting her to everybody he knows. Like literally, he will talk about her in any room he goes into. Like, you need to meet my advisor. Like, he's telling everybody about her. So I'm like, all right, I need to meet this girl. Clearly, like, she's amazing, right? So he puts us in a group text. He's like, Cassandra. And oddly enough, his advisor's name is the same name as my mom. And, like, my mom is my why, and literally why I do what I do. So I felt like, hold on.
All making sense.
Yeah, I'm like, hold
God's
on. Like,
things together.
This was meant to be. So he, you know, connects me with his advisor, Cassandra, and he's like, Cassandra, you need to meet my niece, Nessa. She's interested in hearing about what you do for work. And, you know, interested about, like, how she can get involved with it, right? So she calls me the next day. And she's like, you know, telling me about what she does for work, right? And she's like, you know, I'm in control of my income. She was like, I get to, you know, I have the flexibility of building my own calendar. So a lot of independence in this career. And she was like, and I get to make impact. She was like, that's the best part. And I was like, yep. How do I do it? And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to live that life. Like, she's been doing this now for 10 years. And I was like, yeah, like, I want to do what you do. Like, okay, so what do I do next? And she told me Northwestern Mutual has an internship program. They are in the top 100 internships in the country. So a very amazing internship program and opportunity. And I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Sign me up. So I started the internship the summer before my senior year. And I interned all summer, and I was calling everybody I knew. I'm like, you know, hey, I started this new internship at Northwestern Mutual. I'd love to tell you about it. Like, I was so excited. And
what year was that? 2020, 2021?
That was 2021. So
okay. That's when I talked to you in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That was 2020. So I was like just so excited and passionate about what I was doing. And I wanted to tell everybody about it. And ultimately, I interned all throughout my senior year of college. So I took, you know, the summer before senior year, and then all throughout my senior year, I also stayed on as an intern. And what I loved about that internship was it was different in the sense that I was not filing papers for a company or, you know, sitting at a desk and at a computer all day. Like, I was talking to people. That was literally my job, is to talk to people about their money. And I was hearing people's stories, which is my favorite. I love hearing people's stories. And I was learning so much from my coworkers and just like so much I realized I didn't even know about money, you know? So I was learning so much through these, you know, face-to-face and one-on-one experiences with clients. And I ended up ending the internship as the #1 female in the country, #1 Latina.
Fire.
And so ultimately I was like, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. This is what I should be doing, right? Like, it was just natural to me. And I think it's because too, I share my story with my clients, and they can tell, like, I truly want to help. I'm so passionate about what I do, and I share my why. And that's pretty. So I went full time. I graduated college, went full time right away. In June of 2022, I went full time at Northwestern Mutual, and actually, what's today? The 8th.
Today's the 8th, yeah.
In 2 days will be my three-year work anniversary.
Yeah.
So 3 years that I've been here.
That's fire. Did you ever see that guy that tried to put those like limiting beliefs on you after your internship? You ever just look at him and be like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I did not.
Okay.
I have not seen him. You know what though? Maybe I should like connect with him on like LinkedIn so you could see like everything I've done. I'm like, how could I?
Boy, were you wrong, right?
Yeah.
Damn, that's so crazy though.
That was really long-winded.
No, it's okay. That's
version.
you just gave us your whole story. Like, there was questions in there that I was gonna ask, but you already answered them. So that was a really good answer, Nessa, because you like hit on every single point, which is, like I said, you're really well spoken.
Thank you.
I want to talk about like when people get married and when they combine their income to grow together. Like, Well, two things. One, there are people who, like in our generation especially, like to keep their money separate when they get married and stuff like that. And then there's another group of people who combine their money and grow it together. What do you believe is the right path, and what have you seen that has made the most success?
Okay. This is a hard question. So I would say I don't think there's like a right answer here, but like, okay, my personal opinion, I believe that when you get married, you should be combining your finances and becoming one, because that is what getting married is, right?
Right.
So that's my opinion. That's just my opinion. And I have seen that couples who do combine their finances and have joint accounts are actually happier. Because there's full transparency. There's nothing to hide. They're both aligned with their goals. And so I actually feel like, I do think that is the right thing to do. Now,
I agree with you, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah. I do think it's the right thing to do. Now, do I have clients, though, that are married and have separate accounts? Yes. And some of them, even though they have separate accounts, they will still meet with me together. They're okay talking about what they have. But then I have other clients who, the husband will meet with me on his own, and then the wife will meet with me on her own. So I'm like, okay, well, at least I know they're taken care of, but it's like,
right,
sometimes, and I'm not even gonna lie, like, I'm not telling you who, but like, there's people who like, the husband will be like, oh yeah, I have this account, but my wife doesn't know about it, so make sure she doesn't, mention it. Or like annoying. The wife will be like, oh, I have this credit card debt, he doesn't know about it, and I'm trying to pay it off. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I feel like to get the best outcomes, is to combine your money is a good idea, because I find that when people are separating their money, it's usually for a reason, and it's because they're usually hiding some things
stuff
from each other.
Wow.
Because maybe they don't want to disappoint their partner. They maybe feel embarrassed, like, oh, like maybe as a man, like maybe you have some credit card debt that you're hiding from your wife or something, and you don't want her to feel like you can't be the man of the house or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But I do think, like I said, to get better outcomes, combining is the way to go.
Okay. Yeah, I completely agree. I think if you have one account, one plan, one goal, it's a lot easier to roll together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm on board with you with that. Let's talk a little bit about like building wealth. I think this is one of the things that some people don't know about when it comes to financial planning, like working with a financial planner. Right. Can you kind of talk about like the different investment options? You kind of were hitting on it a little bit, but kind of talk about it a little bit more, and like talk about like compound interest and how your money grows over time, like percentages and what that looks like. Because a lot of people have their money sitting in a bank account, and it's just nothing's happening. It's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And people are kind of nervous. I've had friends well-educated. I'm like, bro, you should start working with a financial advisor. You should start at least getting like a high-yield savings account, something, bro, because your money is just chilling. Like, and they're hesitant. And I'm like, I don't know why, but maybe this will change their mind. Who knows?
So even me, like when I was young, before I even got into my career, I was even scared of like investing and stuff like that. And it's just because I wasn't educated. I didn't know, right? I didn't know any better. And when I think of investing, I think of risk. I think of losing money. Like that's where my head back then immediately went to.
Oh, now it's high risk.
Now,
you're
I'm like, oh my gosh, like investing is like the key to building wealth. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of, different investments and things like that people could be doing. But what I would say is that if you have less than $1 million of investable assets, my philosophy is that we should be well diversified. So we should not be putting all of our eggs in one basket. That means we should not only be investing in Apple. We should not only be investing in Microsoft. We should not only be investing in Chipotle, Ulta, Target, Walmart, Costco, Starbucks. We should be investing in all of them, right? And so that's my philosophy, is that if you have less than $1 million of investable assets, so you don't have, your investment account is not worth $1 million yet, we need to make sure that we are diversified and covering all grounds. And, in general, like you said, like a high yield savings account, I have a high yield savings account. I love it. It's great.
It's amazing.
I think if you're going to, that's kind of like step one, I think. I always tell my clients, like when it comes to, diversifying your money, the first step is to first make sure that you have a cushion, an emergency fund, right? So if you have your emergency fund in a regular bank account, which is doing like 0.05%, you might get a penny or two every month or so. you know, and I realized that too. It's so crazy because before I knew about a high yield savings account, I saw those like pennies going in my savings.
You were like, oh wow.
I was like, yo, like I need to keep saving in here. Like this is gonna make me rich. And this was before I knew better. I was like, yo, like this is gonna make me freaking rich. Like I need to keep doing this. I earned $10 in interest the one year in my TD savings account, and I was like, yo, like this is dope. Like, I was so happy. I was like, this is fire. And then I actually learned about a high yield savings account when I was still in college, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, wait a minute. Once you learn about a high yield savings account, you're like, why was I ever saving in my regular bank account?
Right.
So I opened up a high yield savings account, and like high yield savings account on average are probably returning 4.2, 4.25 maybe a month, 4.25%, depending like which bank you go to. And I always tell people like there's not a right or wrong when it comes to picking a high yield savings account and where to do it. I think just having one is all that matters.
Yeah.
Like don't get into the weeds of well this one might have a percentage higher than this one. Like just open one. Literally just open one and start putting money in it. And a high yield savings account is great because even though it's not at your regular bank, you still connect your regular bank account to it. So if you need the money, you just transfer some money back. Like it's really not, like rocket science. And I'm like, this is literally like step one to financial planning, is building that, savings cushion. And the place to do it is in your high yield savings. So like we said, like high yield savings are going to return like about like 4.2, 4.25% on average right now. Now it's important to note though that the interest that you earn in a high yield savings account, you do have to pay taxes on at the end of the year. So you do get a 1099 from like wherever you have it. Let's say you have it at Marcus or Ally. They're going to show you how much you've earned in interest in the account. And then you got to show that to your tax person. Now, in a high yield savings account, though, you don't pay state or local tax. You only pay federal tax on it, on the interest that you earned in the year. So that it's very minuscule, the amount of tax that you pay on it. It's still worth it. You know what I mean? The opportunity outweighs the cost by far.
Yeah.
And then we have our investments, right? So investments are going to be high risk, high reward. So obviously with investing, like it's going to be risky, it's connected to the market. But we do know that the more risk you take, obviously the more potential there is for your money to grow. So investments on average are probably returning anywhere from 8 to 10% per year. Last year, investments returned, if you were aggressive, returned on average and probably like 30% last year. The market did really good.
30% is crazy.
If you were aggressive. So they did really well last year. If you were aggressive, if you were a little more conservative, you probably got somewhere in the range of that 8%. That 8% return, which is still good. That's still better than the savings and stuff like that.
8% is super lit.
Yeah, like that's good. That's average. But we do know that when there's times like COVID and stuff like that and the market crashes, there's going to be negative returns. And so I always am educating my clients like, listen, when the market crashes, we don't stop investing. We invest on autopilot. No matter what the market's doing, we're going to keep doing it every month.
Talk heavy. Yeah.
And the best time to invest is when the market's down.
It's discounted. It's discounted.
I ask people, I'm like, so on Black Friday, what are you doing, right? When there's Black Friday, you're going and buying everything on sale, right? Why? Because it's on sale and it's cheaper, right? And then what can you do? Let's say you buy something that you got it for $5, and now after Black Friday the price goes back up and it's $25. Well, now you can sell it and make a profit, right? So I compare that to the market all the time, right? I'm like, when the market crashes, that is literally Black Friday for stock and investing, right? That is literally the equivalent of Black Friday. So I always tell my clients, like, when you have extra money that you do not need in your savings, the best time to invest a lump sum of extra money is when we have those market crashes. Because anybody who invested in during COVID made money.
Right.
The market was, oh my God, down so bad. and it went right back up like a year later, and all those people made money. And I'm like, damn.
People got rich off COVID when the stocks and stuff like that.
I'm like, I wasn't doing this at that time, so I didn't know any better, right? Like during COVID, I was still in college. I wasn't even thinking about this, Northwestern Mutual yet. But I always think that I'm like, damn, if I knew then what I know now,
right? And
I could be super lit.
Oh, you'd be a millionaire right now.
Yeah, but like we said, right? So also in an investment account, which a lot of people don't know, is that it's going to be taxed differently, right? So you're also going to pay capital gains tax in an investment account. So what that means is if you invest $500 and your account grows to $1,000, you're going to pay capital gains tax on that difference of $500, right? So you're going to pay taxes. And the longer you stay invested, if you are a long-term investor, you actually pay less capital gains tax over time because you stayed in the market. You didn't. When people are day traders and stuff, all I want them to think about is all the taxes that they pay in. Because when you day trade, you are literally paying, you're going to be owing a lot of taxes.
I don't know anybody that's truly successful at that either. And it's all, like, in my opinion, before I offend anybody, like, it's all cap. You know what I mean? Because, like,
you took the words out of my mouth. I don't got to say it.
It is impossible to predict the market. The smartest guys in the world will tell you this. Tony Robbins will tell you can't. It is, you don't know what the heck is going to happen tomorrow. You just don't.
Literally.
But what we do know is the market will never fail. Yeah. Even if it goes low,
it's going to go back up.
It's going to go back up eventually. So you just got to have a strong stomach. I don't even look at my accounts. I just let it. Me neither. Because it's just like, yo, if it's down, it's down. If it's up, it's up. I just know I'm playing the long game.
You said if it's up, then it's stuck. Like,
you know? Because, like, we're not, like, again, like, over time, once we're like 45, 50, like, that's when it starts getting real. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Roberto.
Yeah, I really wanted to, like, say that. Like, this is a long-term thing. Like, so, like, when you're listening to her, don't think this is like a get money rich quick kind of scheme. It's not that. It's just not. It's just a long game. Like, you want to be setting your kids up for college one day. You want to be setting yourself up for when you're 45, 50. This is like, this is like, but the best time to start is right away, right? So can you kind of talk about that? Like, a big thing for me, what made me make the decision a lot sooner was you were showing me comparisons. I can't pronounce that word right now. Comparisons. Yeah. I can't talk. But like you were like, if you started investing with this money, I think it was like 24, 25. It might have been sooner because I think
I showed you three different people.
Yeah. Like this is how much your money will grow by this age. And you were like, if you started at 35, you would have to double your money. It was like probably like 300.
You'd have to save twice as much.
You would have to save like, then you have to invest $600 to get to the same amount of number, maybe even make less. By this age. You know what I mean? So can you kind of talk about the importance of just like how the compound interest increases over time? I don't know if that's a thing or.
Yeah. So I remember. I know exactly like what you're talking about that I showed you. So I showed you two different people. It was like A, B, and C, right? One started investing at 25, one started investing at 35, and the other at 45, right? And let's just say they were all investing the same amount. Let's just say, I don't know, $200 a month, right? The one who started investing at 25 had the most money at 65 years old, whereas the 35-year-old that started investing $200 a month, ended up with less money at 65 years old because he started 10 years later than the 25-year-old did. Right. Same thing with the 45-year-old. Same amount. They were all investing the same amount every month, but had less money at 65 because the 45-year-old started 20 years after the 25-year-old did.
Right.
Time in the market is everything. So I always say time in the market versus timing the market.
That's a bar.
Don't try to time the market, like, because you said nobody knows what's gonna happen. Nah. If people are like, oh, like presidential elections coming up, oh, the market's gonna, nobody knows. Literally nobody knows. I don't even know. know. Like I would be lying if I said I knew. And so if you focus though on that long term, you know what I mean, like that long term game. You're going to win regardless.
Right.
So like you said, like I always tell my clients too, like the best time to plant a tree was 5, 10, 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today.
Right.
So I always kind of compare it to that. Like you need to get started as soon as possible because what I'm seeing when I meet with a lot of people close to retirement is that they don't have enough money. They don't have enough money saved for retirement. And now I'm like, I have to come to them with the news like, hey, so we have some news. You're going to have to work 10 years more than you originally wanted to because you didn't save enough for retirement. And that's because they weren't educated. They didn't know. They didn't know that they should be doing all these things, right? So education is just like key, like, and just starting early. Like people think like, oh, like, I can keep pushing this off. All that's passing is time. Literally, all that's passing is time, and all I hear are excuses.
Talk heavy.
So
I want to, and maybe you can or you can't do this, but can you give some, like, let's make the assumption that you're 25, you want to start investing now, you want to start putting away $250 a month, right? If the market is like roughly 8 to 10% per year, how much money would they get how much money would they make by the age like 45? Can you do that? Like based on the numbers you've done over and over, or is that too much?
I literally could. I need like a hypothetical. Like I need to run a hypothetical on my computer or like a financial calculator to do that.
Okay,
I literally
okay.
cannot do that in my head.
My bad. I just want people to hear numbers. I want people to hear numbers. You know, because what I used to do a lot with you, I don't know if you remember this. I used to be like, all right, Nessa, how much money do I have to put away a month to make a million by 45? Like, I would literally ask you these questions. I was like, I want to have $1 million in my account by like 45 if I'm investing. So these are like conversations I would have with Nessa like one-on-one. So I just wanted to see if she could do it. All good though.
I'm sorry. I don't got none of my tools in front of me. Like, I'm sorry. But
I put you on the spot. You're good. What would you say to someone that is on the fence of making that decision of working with a financial advisor? Like they're listening to you, you know, they're like, this sounds nice. Like I know I should probably, you know, manage my money. But I don't know, I'm scared.
I always tell people starting with something is better than doing nothing at all. So if you're scared of the dollar amount that you should be doing, let's just say I'm recommending like, hey, we should be putting 300 here, 300 here. And you're like, you know, nervous because those numbers, you're not used to it, right? You're not used to that money, you know, going and saving in other places and putting it other places. You're used to just seeing it in your savings, and that feels safe. That feels good, right? So people, I think, are, you know, just scared to pull the trigger. Like, I always tell people, though, starting with something is better than doing nothing at all. So let's just say I'm recommending you put 300 here, 300 there. If you say, you know what, I understand this is important, but I'm going to admit I'm a little nervous with these numbers. I'm like, that's fine. We don't have to start with 300. I'd rather you start with something than doing nothing. So if you want to lower it to $100 a month, I don't care. $50 a month. I'm just happy that you're doing something.
Right.
And I always tell people, okay, let's just say we start here, right? We start with, you know, $100 a month versus 300. Does that feel better for you? They're like, yeah, that probably feels good. I probably won't even feel it come out of my account. I'm like, great. So we're going to start with 100. We're going to check in like 3 to 6 months from now. And I'm going to ask you again, did you even feel that coming out of your account? You're probably going to tell me no. You're probably going to be like, no, I honestly forgot that it was even happening. And I'm like, okay, great. That means we can probably raise it a little bit, right?
Right.
So like I said, I think just starting, I think making people feel comfortable with the fact that they don't have to be doing, you know, thousands and hundreds of dollars a month to get started. You know, even just a little bit, you're still doing more than like 99% of the population.
Right.
By doing anything.
Wow.
So.
That's a bar. Well, Nessa, I appreciate you coming on. Whether you realize it or not, you really, truly are an inspiration to a lot of little girls out there.
I love it.
Because like I said, there is a really big misconception that guy tried to put on you, saying people are only going to come for you for one thing. You'll never be successful. And boy, did you prove him wrong, right? And now a lot of girls are kind of walking into the same rooms. Guys are trying to tell them the same thing, but now they're looking to you like, no, if Nessa could do it, I can do it too. So I appreciate you, Nessa, and I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I love it.
And we'll be
This
back
is so
with
fun.
another episode in another 2 weeks or so. I appreciate you guys tuning in on a week-to-week basis. Continue to subscribe, and y'all stay blessed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Berto.